Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Men Need to Be Heard podcast. I'm Dan, and today, well, let me say it this way. Y'all think that when Elizabeth passed away, some guy named Charles became king. Oh, hell no. I am bringing on the true king. He's shaking his head off to the side. Let me bring him on. Here we go. The true king, Matt, a.k.a. Matchooly. Hi, Matt. How are you?
Yeah. Yes, not royalty in the slightest.
I had to go there.
Off with his head. Off with his
Wait,
head.
you supposed let them eat cake? Oh wait, that was France. That was Marie, right? Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for coming on the show. As we talked off air, I am so excited to have you on because I look up to you. I don't know if you know that. I marvel
Dangerous.
at what you're. Yeah, well, maybe.
Very dangerous.
I marvel at what you can do. I wish I had your talent. My videos that I do are more straightforward. You make me laugh regularly. You challenge me. You make me think. And so enough sucking up. How about you tell us about you, Matt?
Well, let's kind of get the balance here correct a little bit, shall I? I'm just an idiot with a camera.
There you go.
That is it. Just a random middle-aged dude with a camera that points it towards his face every now and again and talks about nonsense that he sees on the internet. And that's pretty much it. You're normal everyday Joe. But I do have a little bit of a streak of piss taking within me. That's down to family blood. So I'm not taking any blame for that whatsoever.
Genetics. You're going to blame genetics for that.
Yes, we're a Scouse family, so it's in our nature to take the piss out of everything. You come around at Christmas and you've got all the family together. You can't do anything without someone taking the piss out of you. It's just the way it was. So when you see people on the internet doing stupid stuff and then you put the camera at your face and you've got like 20 minutes to have a bit of fun, it's hard to resist.
The thing is, though, Matt, I mean, yeah, you're having fun with it, but you know what? One of the things that I really love about it is you're also educating, right? You sometimes take on very serious topics. Some of them I will get into, but you're taking a shot at them, as we would say over here, across the pond. You say taking a piss at them. A little different, but same thing.
Well, you like shooting people there, don't you?
Careful, you get me bad.
Sorry, there's the joke. Have I gone blurry?
What you don't know is I have right to my right. Never mind. I'm not going to talk about it because you never know who's going to walk in. But in a serious note, the topics that you cover often are very serious, and you don't make fun of them. You take them on sometimes in a lighthearted way, but really that's what helps drive people to listen to them and get educated on them and see different viewpoints. That's one of the things that I actually admire about you. And that, I mean, yeah, I'm doing the whole game where I was the suck up and all that for fun. But in all seriousness, though, it's a talent you have that I don't think you have, maybe, because you have the ability to get people's attention and really, take, like I said, a serious matter and get them to listen to you for 60 odd seconds, give or take. And I admire you for that.
It's like 3 minutes most of the time. I don't understand why. I don't get it. I literally just chuck up the phone onto the stand, and I started making videos so often. I bought one of those selfie sticks, and yeah, it's a tough one. It's how to explain it. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. I just kind of want to get a message out there, and kind of I just if it's not a sensitive subject, try and make it lighthearted and try and get a point across. But it's a weird one. It's not something that I intend to do. It's not something I'm aware of. I just literally point and shoot.
Yeah, that's my point. Is you're so natural at it, and I think that's why it's so effective. Is because you have no airs about you. You're an average Joe. I think you mentioned that earlier, and that's what resonates with people. Because let's face it, there's a lot of talking heads out there, probably me included.
Oh, you speak from experience mainly, don't you?
Yeah, that's my thing. But it helps people to kind of connect with you. I guess that's where I would go with it.
Yeah. One thing I learned is I don't. It's very risky. I watch a lot of when I started growing on TikTok. I was watching a lot of creators get a lot of things wrong, and I just delved into loads of books. And thankfully now, as well, in the position that I'm in and the contacts that I've got, I can cross-reference things with other people, and I've got a good group of mutuals on the app that if I make a video and they're like, "You've said this wrong, this is wrong," I'm like, "Right, wicked, cool, noted," and I'll try and learn as much as I can. And I've got like one of those memories where you kind of just absorb stuff.
Yep.
I annoy people with that thing. I'm like the laziest person ever, but when it comes to trying to read things and learn stuff, I just absorb it. And you can't sit there on a video and just give facts and figures because it's boring. And there's the amount of times I've sat there and I wanted to make a video and I just wanted to reel off a bunch of information just to prove someone wrong. And I was like, that won't work. It just won't work.
It will not work. No, if anything, it'll backfire on you. But and that's why I kind of want to start talking about a little bit more about the content of what you cover. Now, you and I basically cover the same type things, a little differently,
Yeah.
right? But one of the things that I wanted to kind of start off with that we often talk about, sometimes directly, but more often indirectly, is really like the double standards that we see in society towards men and how it's affecting them. And you've done a lot of videos along those lines. Is there one that kind of stands out to you that you've done recently, kind of talking along those lines?
The biggest double standard that is playing on my mind, and it has been for a while, because I kind of wanted to do a bigger video about this, is how men are told what they should like, and then how can I explain it? I'm trying to. It's in my head, right? And this is, you're going to see now how nervous I am when I'm on podcasts.
Oh, you have nothing to be nervous about. You're just talking to me. There's nobody else watching, Matt. It's just
yeah, I know, but I'm a nervous Nelly by nature. I'm a very anxious person. I'm riddled with anxiety, which is a pain.
You just gave all your detractors ammunition. You know that, right?
Yeah, they can go for me. There's nothing they can say to me that I've not said to myself in front of them.
There you go.
But yeah, no, it's the case of a way of, okay, so you see this double standard. I am this, I am a queen, I'm the prize, right? And then it's a case of, you men, this is what you should want. And if you want something other than what I'm telling you, you're a misogynist. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. Why can't a man have a preference about a woman because you don't like it, but then you're telling them that the only preference they can have is what you're telling them to have? And that double standard is just, it's in my head and it's muddled, right? Because I'm still trying to work it out, but it drives me insane.
Well, it's funny because I have very similar thoughts. I've been kind of steering more towards educating it lately, but I agree with you on that. It's trying to, and I use this line, you'll like this one. I used this line on a woman the other day, which is, you don't understand what you're trying to think and say. How the hell are we supposed to understand it? So when we're trying to, articulate our thoughts along those lines, I get it. It's tough sometimes because there is no logic that you're responding to. There
was a video the other day I sent to you, and I was like, I don't even know what she's.
Oh, that one. Oh, yeah.
It was so odd, but there was little pockets in there that could be addressed, but there was lots of what the hell's going on around it. But I still made a video about it because I was, I just wanted everyone to be just as confused as I was at the end of it. But my brain's just caught up with me here. So in terms of like double standards, so for example, a woman can say, I want a man to be 6 foot, but as soon as a man says, I don't want a lady to be a certain weight, that's it. It's all the names under the sun. And one of my particular favorites is, and I love this, the amount of videos I've seen of women doing this is incredible, is a real man likes, and then they insert a description of what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it and I'm thinking, so you're trying to qualify what a real man is by basically on whether they find you attractive or not. Now, imagine putting a video up on TikTok, and I've been tempted, believe me.
Uh-oh.
I've been tempted to just say, a real woman wants a man that is. The problem is I'm over 6 foot and I've got a head full of hair, which is really annoying. But like, you know, a real woman wants a man with a proper dad bod, smelly feet, and if you don't like him, you're not a real woman. To that kind of extent.
That would be gold.
Just you would get absolutely roasted. The amount of people that would tag Drew, whatever her name is, in the toilet monster. They would tag her into the comment sections quicker than you could blink.
Oh, without question.
It's and I've avoided her somehow so far, which is quite.
You have now. That's interesting. She hasn't come after me yet either, but you're a much larger account than I have. I'm actually shocked she hasn't targeted you at some point.
No, I've had that. Oh, what's his name? Paul Barrett, something like that.
I don't know.
He tried. He's the one that's quite. His content is basically that all straight men are dangers and they are secretly gay. That's his content. It's
yes, I know who you mean now. Okay, yeah.
Really troublesome. But he kind of semi-tried, and then I tore him to shreds. And then he's blocked 2 of my accounts. He got humiliated, which was fun. I do like doing that to people because when they've got no answer back to you, they just go block. It's like, well,
oh yeah, and that's one of the things I think you and I have in common is we both enjoy trolling the trolls. But
with facts, that's the trick to it. They get pissed off when they can't answer back because there's nothing to come back to.
Right.
And that's the joy of it. That satisfies me greatly. I've had a couple of big creators block me on the basis of they're unable to respond.
Well, at some point, you know, if because you, I'm sure, remain calm like I do, and you're laughing about it, and they just can't get you. They think they are, but it's just kind of funny. And then, the normal result is you're a bitter, angry man. Block. Yeah, you know, I get that one all the time. Or in my case, they love to comment about my head and lack of hair. And now the new one's eyebrows, because I had some precancerous tumors removed, which were right around. In fact, I still got one in there. You can't see it, but so they had to freeze them off, and they took my eyebrows with it. So now that's their new one, is to tease me about my eyebrows, and I'm like, if that's all you have, I've already won. Sit down, shut up.
Especially with your description of it as well. You could just turn around and say you're mocking someone who's had tumors.
Oh, I have. Oh, I've used that line on them. Now, to be fair, this weekend I was like, we were talking about it off air. I was trolling the trolls big time. I was having a ball. To be fair, I probably hit 8, 9, maybe 10 people with that. Like, you know, you realize you're mocking someone that's dealing with precancerous tumors. 2 of them actually private messaged me to apologize. Yeah, all good. No worries. And you know, 2 of them doubled down on it. And 2 or 3 of them doubled down on it, and the rest kind of disappeared because, you know, I got them and they don't know what to say. But it's funny how my goal with all of that, and what kind of amuses me about it, is I don't care about educating them or changing their mind. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
It's letting others see them for what they are.
Yes.
And I was going to say, I think that's your goal also, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something that because, you know, last couple of months I've not made as many videos, which you and I spoke about before coming on. But one of the things I enjoy doing is letting me be attacked by people in the comment sections, or people doing videos towards me attacking me, because I don't really care.
Right.
But if other people are watching it happen to me, they can see how I'm dealing with it, so they know how to deal with it the same way. And that was a massive part of what my content was. But that comes back full circle of why I started doing this TikTok thing in the first place. But a lot of people just get angry on there. And now where I am at the moment, based on the stuff that I've done in the past, the amount of conversations I have in the comment section, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, it's basically stuff what I would be saying, and they're people who have followed me for a long time. But then you do get, because obviously a big account, you'll get people who are coming in that don't know you, don't follow you, and they'll be a bit of a dick in the comments, and then I'll correct them. So, for example, there's a one of my last videos about the sensitive topic of unaliving. Lady was saying about, well, basically she displayed it as if like women try it harder and, you know, they don't do it because they're not as selfish. That's kind of one of the many layers of how she kind of displayed it. And a woman made a comment in there that she's attempted 3 times but failed. And some dude put on there 3 times wasn't good enough, try harder. So my reply to his comment wasn't very pleasant.
No.
Right? But people will see me doing that and join in. And that's what we kind of got to try and help educate people with doing, in terms of how to respond to things, how to think, how to combat things without being pissed off. Because it's so easy to watch this content and then kind of be polarized by it, you know? And with all the Andrew Tate stuff, you know, all the people following Andrew Tate, and I know he's quite divisive with opinions, but, you know, to me, I look at him and I'm like, there's too big a portion that's a bit extreme. So, but I can understand that, say, 80% of the stuff he says is quite logical, sound. But people will buy into that 10, 20% of the extreme polar opposite of what they're seeing on social media so easily, because they're kind of encouraged to. And one of the things I try to kind of focus on is try and make sure that people can see that you can deal with things in a different way. And this is how to deal with it. This is how to cope with it. Watch me get attacked. Watch how I'm dealing with it. Laugh it off. Don't worry about it. Use some facts, some figures, ask questions. Don't let people beat you down, because that's what people on the internet try and do, especially the radical feminists, which is my area of expertise.
We're going to get into that a little bit further in just a second, but I just want to comment kind of off of what you just said, because again, we have very similar things. My viewpoint with my stuff is I'm willing to take the bullet for other guys, right? Yeah. I am cancel proof. There's nothing they can do to me. There's nothing they can say to me. I don't care. My viewpoint is you can't be canceled unless you let someone cancel you, and I will never allow that. But I'm willing to say the things, and again, I try not to be nasty. I can't say that I'm perfect at it. I've had my moments, but it's, you know, I think, and it's not just us. There's a lot of, you know, fellow creators we're in contact with, we talk with all the time. I think in general, most of us, we're trying to initiate a conversation. And like you said, people tend to focus on the extremes. You know, you mentioned Tate. I'm not a fan of his, to be honest with you. I understand a lot of what he says. I also figured out a long time ago he's a celebrity, and he's trying to get attention, and he's masterful at it. And the best way to get attention is to create issues. And he's skilled at it. I got to give him that. But a lot of what he says, I don't agree with. Some I do agree with. But the problem is folks like you and I get roped and tied in with him, right? Oh, you're just like Tate. No, I'm not. And I actually don't think he is either, to be honest with you. I've never met him. I don't know him. I've watched very little of his stuff. But what I have, I'm like, what he's saying now and what he's saying privately, I bet are 2 entirely different things.
When people try and lump you in with Tate and people like that, what they do that in the same way as they claim gaslighting or, or what's their favorite? Oh, you're being disingenuous, or, you know,
they don't even know what that word means.
Yeah, or misogyny. They don't know what the words means half the time.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, you hate women. It's like, oh, you're a misogynist. Well, no, because women are amazing. I just don't like that one person's opinion. Well, she's a woman, so that makes you a misogynist. No, that's not how the real world works. So that's what they try and do. They try and lump you in with people just to kind of get you dismissed. So it's just a roundabout way of using one of the other random, ridiculous buzzwords that they say. But take the way I look at them. I think the amount of hits men were getting on social media, just let's be fair, they absolutely get slaughtered on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Tate found a gap in the market where I think his intent might have been good. Maybe his online courses aren't as bad as what we see of him. I don't know. Hard to make judgment. But the stuff I've seen that I'm like, no. And then people have run with that. And I'm thinking he's probably saying that sort of stuff to kind of get people to buy his product.
Of course he is. I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. He's not a stupid man. He's a very smart man.
Yeah.
And controversy, like sex, sells. Plain and simple.
Can you hear the cat?
Oh, we like cats. We welcome cats.
Yeah,
We like dogs. My dogs are sound asleep. They're all welcome. We've had other cats on the show before.
I'm assuming with Michelle.
Michelle. We had Michelle's cat on. I think we had Lindsay's too.
She always shows everyone her cat.
Careful how you say that. But it's interesting to see how feminists in general, but feminists specifically, women in general, tend to try and lump us in with that. And that's something I wanted to kind of talk to you about, is that mindset. That, because you talk about it frequently, I talk about it a lot also, which is the way I've been putting it lately is women tell other women how men think.
Yes.
They don't listen to men, or if they do listen, they don't hear what they're saying. Hence, men need to be heard. And I've started kind of doing more and more along those lines. And it's interesting to see the responses. I get attacked for it. That's not true. Or I did a video a couple weeks ago. I did 400,000, whatever. I'm not saying to promote myself, but there are thousands of guys on there going, yep, you're right. I agree, blah, blah, blah. And then not every woman, but 90% of them, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm sure you've experienced that, no?
Oh, more times than I can count. I've experienced that. And the amount of times I've just replied to a lot of the women, just look at what the men are saying in the comments. Don't take my word for it. Look at all the men commenting. And they'll still reply back to me and say, nope, you're wrong.
Yep.
It's like, you've got a bunch of evidence right here. But it is very often a case of, this is what men want. This is what men like. This is how to treat a man. And then men are like, no, we don't like that. And then it's like, you men don't know what you want.
Yeah, well, that's the or the other one I've been doing a lot lately is projection, right? So you mentioned the sixes before, 6 feet, 6 figures, all that stuff. I'm kind of gonna go down a road with the. I don't know if you heard the last video. I used the 3 6s, but I inserted a song called "Devil Woman" on there. Oh, the Cliff Richard song.
These are the Cliff Richard song.
Hey, see.
So, I'm gonna be making a thing about these 3 6s at some point. So,
I'll have to watch for that because, like I said, you're way better at that stuff than me. But you kind of, like you mentioned this earlier, you turn it around on them. Well, okay.
Yeah.
So I've used I won't date a woman under 5'9". What? How dare you? Blah blah blah. And it's fun to kind of turn it around on them and see the response. But again, I don't think I'm going to change their mind ever. But if other guys and maybe some women can see it and go, wait a minute, then we can start having the conversation. Because I think ultimately you and I both have the same objective, is let's get a conversation going and come together.
Yeah.
My big thing is people think I hate marriage. I don't hate marriage. I think it's a beautiful thing. But guys have to stop walking into it with their eyes closed, thinking that it's going to be easy, Yeah. And that there's not a 50% chance they're going to get taken to the cleaners. And it's viewed as hating women.
50 now, isn't it?
What's that?
That's what it is now. 50%
In the
divorce.
States, it is roughly. It's a little actually over 50% of marriages now are ending in divorce.
Yes.
And then
As a contract, the marriage contract itself, it's it's like Russian roulette. The marriage contract itself. There's nothing in there that's beneficial to a man.
not at this point.
It's,
No.
no. So in terms of if a man is going to marry a woman, there's going to be two reasons: young and naive, hopefully love, but love is literally the main reason that's going to encourage a man to get married. If a man gets married and he's sound of mind, his mindset is going to be that it's you for the rest of my life. It's not going to apply to all men because you are going to get dickhead men.
Of course.
They will exist. In terms of on a mean average, the majority of them, sound of mind, will be going in purely for love and hope it lasts for a lifetime. But yeah, reality is now that just doesn't happen, does it? Toss of a coin.
I mean, it's 50-50. And 80% of the divorces are filed by women, 90% if they're college educated. Those stats are out there. Everybody knows them. But it begs the question, this is a kind of a good point to go down. Do you think men are more apt to stay in a marriage than, say, a woman? Better yet, want to be married versus women? I'd just be curious what you think on that.
I think if I'm honest, I think women have the greater desire to be married. That's my viewpoint on it. I think they, even from a young age, a lot of them, I want to be married by a certain age. They have a life plan. I want to be married by a certain age, have kids. How many of us dudes have been in our 20s and not even crossed our mind? Not even crossed.
Well, I wasn't one of them. I got married first time at 21, so I failed that miserably.
Yeah. So it's you played a game of Tetris. You lost on level 1. So,
yes, I did. In more ways than one, too.
It's not the forefront of a guy's mind. So you, as a teenager, was marriage ever something?
No, it was. It's I call it the Disney thing, right? Women grow up, they want the prince. They pretend they're getting married. I remember my daughter. I have 3 daughters. They would dress up, play wedding, play house, all that stuff. And my boy, I have 3 boys. Nothing, right? Same with me. I never thought about it until I met my first wife. And I don't go there.
So I went from Disney to Die Hard.
I went from Disney to hell, but because she is Satan, and I don't care if she hears this. But I agree with you there. What I find maybe a little different is as we get older, men in their let's say 30s, women in their 30s, then it flips. I feel.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to my age, 60, oh God, hell, I don't know how old you are, but 60, walk away, it's done. But it's interesting that you see that dynamic flip, I think.
I didn't think you were 60. I thought you was a lot younger than that.
No, I am 60. Well, I will be in July.
Yeah, I'm a couple of weeks away from 42.
Oh, good Lord. So you're a baby.
I'm catching up. My body's telling me that I'm not a baby. But yeah, no, in terms of 30s, I think everything gets a bit messier. I think single people in the 30s tend to be, especially women, tend to be a lot more cautious about marriage. Mm-hmm. But then that's usually the stage where single men start thinking about marriage. So I would be inclined to agree with you on that one. And I'm kind of referring to the ladies and the men that I do know. But I don't know any fellas that would go out, to aim to get married. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Well, not these days. That's a whole other conversation right there.
Yeah. I don't think I know anyone, especially in terms of my age group. I couldn't name you one person that's single that said to me in the last 10 years that I wouldn't mind getting married at some point. It's like even my partner now, when I met her and stuff like that, a couple of months down the line, she was like, marriage has never interested me. And I was like, same here. Been with someone for years, not interested in me. And now I've been with her for a while now, and it wasn't long after that we were both thinking in our head, are they convincing me otherwise? Am I going to make this error? Is this a possibility? And it's a possibility. But I think that's probably the best way it should go. Like, it just evolves and it works. But so that desire when people just want to get married, I think is absolutely dangerous. And younger folk, it tends to be the ladies that are the ones that drive for it to happen more than men. That's my perception.
Yeah, anyway. And I think it kind of plays into, you see on all the social medias, but primarily on TikTok, goes around all the time. Why are older guys dating younger women? Why are they going, the 40-year-olds going for the 20s? I think some of it has to do with guys in their 40s maybe looking to get married, although you're saying no, whereas women in their 20s are, So I don't know. My viewpoint right now is, and I'm part of the problem. Men are, because I bring it up all the time, go into a relationship with your eyes wide open, otherwise walk away. And that's what's happening. Men are walking away. And I actually find it very sad. I talk about it a lot. And I, be honest with you, I suggest it probably a lot. Some would make that argument. But the reality is, as we mentioned earlier, there's no benefit at this point to being in a marriage. I would even postulate any relationship at this point, and call me jaded, if you will. But when you really look at it, and having talked with a lot of the 20-year-old guys, they're seeing it more than you and I are.
Yeah,
and it's really interesting to see.
Isn't it? So we wouldn't have seen all this.
No.
No. We wouldn't have seen what other people have experienced.
Well, it's a different time too. I mean, when I was 20 years old, I turned 20 in 1983. So whole different ballgame, back then, family structure, it was starting to get torn apart, but for the most part, most people, grew up, got married, worked 40-hour work week, got old enough to retire, and that was their thing. Even into the 80s, then it started changing. And now you're seeing, like, I don't know, like you mentioned 40-year-olds not interested. I don't know of 20-year-old guys that are anymore. And I've talked to a lot of them recently, and I'm like, man, they call me jaded. They're 100 times more jaded than I am. And
even growing up, when I was in my 20s, there's not one memory that I've got where one of my friends ever said to me, I can't wait to get married. Not one of them. Not a single one of them.
That's sad to me.
Like single ones. Once they've gone to relationships and then it's developed and stuff like that, damn. But like when they're single, not one of them was like, marriage is something that, I'd want to achieve one day. I can't remember any of them saying that. I certainly didn't.
Have you ever been married? I'm just curious.
Me? No.
Not even once.
No.
God bless you.
The ex used to nag me. And my mother used to keep hinting, so when's the wedding then? So I do the accent. When's the wedding then? When's it going to happen? When you two going to get married then? When are you going to get married? And I was like, something, family was always first because we had kids, and my mindset was, I'm very family orientated. I'm very parental, and your kids always come first. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she didn't think that same way. So she's very much out for herself. So she ended up cheating, and we parted ways. And one of the things I said to my mother at the time was like, see, told you I shouldn't have married her. I was right.
You won the lottery.
It would have ended up in a lot more hassle. It's and it ended terribly. And it's a sad thing, really, because if she'd have done things without being Satan's boss, because Satan is just keeping the seat warm for her return.
Great
it would
minds.
have been good to have like a nice bond, for the kids.
Right.
Because if she was honest and stuff like that, I would have gone, look, that's absolutely fine. Let's work together so we could part ways, be friends afterwards, blah 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 blah. And she destroyed absolutely every single ounce of that ever happening, and then some, which is a bit sad for the kids.
Well, I was just going to say that affects the kids. I've been through two divorces. My first one, I'm going to claim Satan also.
You've done it twice.
I've done it twice.
Jeez.
3 actually. But the second divorce was as amicable as it could possibly be. I talk about it all the time. We came to a decision. It's not working. Okay, we're going to separate. We're going to get divorced. We literally sat down on a Saturday morning at like 9 o'clock, and by 11:30 had the whole thing hammered out. Called an attorney, said, make this legal. We never set foot in a courtroom. Never have had an issue. It's 10 years plus now. Get along better now than when we were married. Talk more now than when we were married. So it can go both ways. I've seen the two extremes, right?
Yeah.
And that's why when I say to guys, look, much like you were trying to do, anything you can do to make it amicable, do it, because it's for the kids.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, it makes your life a hell of a lot easier,
Yeah.
because I'm sure you went through all the turmoil that I did. We all know what that is. And unfortunately, a lot of guys don't realize it till they get in the situation, how hard it is. So if you can make it amicable and do the right thing, my viewpoint is when a marriage ends, it's both parties' fault. It's to varying degrees, sure, but no one's it's never 100-0 like most of the feminists say on TikTok or Instagram. But it's, again, goes to the children. But even if you don't have children, it goes to your own mindset. I'm sure you agree with that.
Yeah, I'm always envious of people who've got amicable, relationships after they parted. It was never an option for me to have because of the destruction that kind of ensued afterwards. And when I see people who are amicable and they're doing what's good for the kids, I'm quite envious of that. I'm really envious of that because it pains me to look at my children's mother and think what you done was evil, because it was over a course of years. What she done, it was vile. And to be fair, she, if I took it further with the police, she could have ended up with jail time, and that's how severe it was. But she never gave me that, that option to have an amicable relationship with her. And that saddens me because it would have been ideal with the kids. So, but I've got friends that have got amicable relationships with their exes, and I look at them and I am envious of them. I'm massively envious of them because that's how it should be. Kids pick up on the smallest negative vibes, and
absolutely they do.
To create them is just selfishness.
It's interesting something you just said, Matt, is that you wish it had been differently, and I can hear in your voice genuine, I don't know if concern's the right word, but genuine feeling that you wish it had gone better. Something you rarely hear, by the way, from women, right? They're out to get you, and they see it as somebody's got to win, and no one wins in that situation. No one wins. I mean, I've talked about my story in the past. I ended up with custody of the kids. It took me a long time, but I didn't win. The kids lost because we went through all those battles. I don't view it as I won at all. And I have the same kind of wishes you do, which is I wish it had never gotten to that point,
Yeah.
But I rarely hear a woman say that. I have you? I haven't.
It's yeah, no, I can't think of it. I've not certainly seen it on social media.
Oh, you'll never see it there.
No, never see
never gonna see it there.
They'll get called a pick me and all sorts of stuff, wouldn't they? But I've got friends that have had, they've had terrible partners, and this is what drives me insane. I've got a lot of my friendship group, they've always been, a majority of women. I've always had more women friends than I've had male friends all of my life, right? So I've got an understanding of how crazy they could be.
Oh, mm-hmm.
But I know several of them. That have had really bad partners, and they've had kids with these partners, and they've separated. And these guys are really bad guys. These aren't good guys at all. And these ladies, these friends of mine, they literally do everything they possibly can to get this, dad involved in their life. And then, they're a little bit lazy. They don't really push for it. They'll have the kids and stuff like that, and they'll ask for the kids, etc. But they don't really push for anything. They're like, kind of like, I'll have them as and when I want them. And these guys are terrible. And these women are bending over backwards to try and create an amicable situation. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's me with someone who's been as nasty as pie when I've been as nice as pie. And she's created a position where there's no chance of it being amicable. And I'm like, how is that fair? How does that work? It's the bad guys seem to get it easier.
Oh, they do. I totally agree with you on that. It's I don't know why that is. It just baffles me. It's like there's nothing like I say. I've never cheated. I've never raised my voice. I've done all the stuff. I probably worked too much. I think she could, tell me off for that. But the thing is, look, what was my spare time like? I'd get home from work. I'd have the kids. She'd do her thing. She'd be on her phone all bloody night. I'd get all the kids to bed, and then once a week I'd sit down in front of the Xbox, have a couple of beers, and then go to bed. And that was pretty much my work week. And then when she was at work, I'd do everything, have the kids. Weekends, if I was off, would go somewhere. So I was doing all like kind of the stuff that you think you're doing, taking care of the family, looking after family, all the niceties and all that sort of stuff. And then it just kind of went. Basically, she started seeing someone else without me knowing, and then started becoming this absolute monster. And then punished me for everything. Everything was my fault. Was her name Tammy by the chance? Because that's what my first wife's name was, and she did the same things.
Is it? I reckon they're both spawned from the devil's anus.
Succubuses, or succubi, I guess is the proper term for that.
Yeah.
But it's your point is valid though. It's you talked about it. I was the same way, right? I did my job, come home, take care of the kids. Occasionally, mine was sit down, watch a football game, the real football, not that soccer stuff. I had to get that shot in.
The football that you use with your hands.
Yes.
It should be called hand egg.
Hand egg.
Yeah.
Well, I heard London's getting a team, so I don't know how close you are to London, but anyway. But yeah, it's interesting that our stories are so similar. It's probably why we get along so well. Because, but the reality is our stories are so similar, but they're not that different than most guys. There are exceptions, right? We always have to say that because that's what everybody focuses on. But for the most part, this is what all guys go through to varying degrees, of course. There may have been cheating, there may not have been, but you've related how you felt. Mine's the same. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to educate guys on is because they'll feel that way and they will internalize it. They won't, it's just me. I had this little bit of this conversation with Michelle in relation to domestic violence that, yours is worse than mine. I had it bad, but you're worse. That's what guys do.
There's no worse or anything like that. It's all bad. It's all bad.
All bad. That's one of the things that I try and do is get guys to realize that, one, you're not alone, and here's two. If you're watching this, here's two guys telling you, we've been through it. We get it. And, it's just, I guess it makes, it's going to sound horrible. It makes me feel good to hear what you're saying because it kind of reinforces the same thing that I feel.
See, something I have said so often, and you've just said it. You've just said it out loud. If a dude starts saying something that he's experienced and another dude goes, that's familiar to what I've experienced, it's like a sense of relief because they're not the only one that's gone through
Exactly.
It's one of the you might have seen quite a lot of the videos where I'm talking about my situation, not in detail all the time, because if I put it into detail, it would break the internet. But I've talked about bits and bobs that I've gone through, and dudes have been like, yeah, no, that's the same. And that's when they absolutely open up. That's when they open up. And that's what worked with me. I went on the internet one day when I was going through a lot of stress and, a lot of turmoil. And I stumbled across a website. And I can't for the life of me remember what it was called. But there was this one section on there of men, and it was just men talking about their experiences. And I'm like, I'm not the only one here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the only one. And that to me was a massive relief.
Yeah.
It took so much weight off my shoulders. And that's why I think, like, your content, my content, Tammy's, Michelle's, Squirrely Girl, Lauren.
There's so many that we can.
So many now of so many fantastic people. But just talking about stuff that, even men can look at now and go, shit. That, I didn't realize that was happening. That's what I went through.
Yeah.
The amount of men that I've spoken to over the course of I've been on TikTok for 18 months now, I think, ish, nearly. The amount of fellas I've spoken to that didn't realize that they were going through abuse. And I kind of get it, because it wasn't until after about a year after me and my Satan split up, when I was using my sister as a third party, when my sister realized that I had been going through years of abuse. When she started learning more and more and more. But dudes don't realize, I think, and leading back to your earlier question, do fellas stick around, tend to have the mindset of sticking around more stubbornly than women in relationships? Again, from a personal perspective, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. By a longer distance, because we will go through a lot more, and we will take on a lot more responsibility of the relationship. And if it's not working, it's our fault. Because how many times do you see men on on the internet saying, my relationship's not working, my wife needs to pull her finger out? You never see it. Mm-hmm. But you will see it one every other 3 videos about men on TikTok. Because I think men just kind of suck it up, deal with it, and feel responsible for everything that doesn't work in a relationship. And that kind of accountability. Sorry.
No worries.
Bit of a cough. Covering the word accountability.
I knew what you were doing.
But, so my personal belief, I've read some kind of psychology kind of studies that kind of say similar things, but I've not gone into too much depth on this kind of topic itself. But from my appearance, what I've read, what I've seen, I would be very much confident saying that men stick around and are more stubborn to make a relationship work than women. And the 80% initiating divorce rate would suggest that to be true.
Oh, that's one of the things that I use to argue when they say, well, men are looking to run away. So, I've talked in the past how I have done lobbying on behalf of men. I've tried to get a shared parenting bill in New York through. I spent hours and hours lobbying, and here, we've got 2 parties. I think you guys have more than 2 parties, right? You have the Labor Party and is it Tory? I don't even know.
Tories. We got the other 2. The other main one's Labor Party.
Oh, yeah.
There's another
That's
one.
the one I know
of.
Yeah, but here.
Quick fun fact.
Go ahead.
Quick fun fact for your listeners, right? If any of them are in the UK. Over 55% of the Labour Party, I think it's about 60% of the Labour Party are women. And it's something like 70% of the Lib Dems are women as well. And women have a majority vote. So, ladies, if any feminists are listening to this, vote for one of those 2. And then women will be the majority in power.
Well,
I bet you they won't.
No. Well, what's interesting here, is both parties are really anti-male here. They go about it differently.
Yeah.
But when we're trying to argue with them and get politicians on both sides of the aisle here to understand what men are going through, they can't fathom it. It's, well, guys are leaving marriage. No, they're not. And you could show them statistics all day long, and trust me, I have. They still believe it's guys abandoning. And that's why the laws are written the way they are for things like child support, right? I can't speak to the UK's rules on that, but basically in the United States, any of the 50 states, here's the way your divorce is going to end. It's going to be the father's going to end up with visitation. Don't get me started. Mm-hmm. You're going to get every other weekend, and you're going to get 1 weeknight to have pizza. I call it pizza time. That's basically it. Sometimes you might get summers. Some guys can get that. Some guys can get holiday weeks and stuff like that. But essentially, that's what you're going to get there. Child support, it's a fraction of your income, period. Each state's a little different. What people don't realize here is the states usually choose whatever the maximum amount they're going to get from the federal government in recoupable funds. Maybe the UK is a little different. I have a feeling it's probably not. Can you kind of share on that?
They just whack out a good 18% of your wages.
So 18 there. New York State was 17 for one child. So they're very similar, see?
Yeah, it's about 16% for one child, 18 for two. I think it's about 20 or 21 for three.
Oh, I'm moving to England then. Oh, hell. Mine was, it's 17 for one, 24 for two, 28 for three, and 30 whatever. After tax too, by the way.
My stats are a bit old, so I might be slightly out. So I've got my kids 50-50, so it's the time is a lot more precious than the money. So
there's another thing that guys say, right? They don't worry about child support so much. They want to see their kids.
Yeah.
And I was the same way. When I eventually got custody, I didn't even ask for child support. I got the kids. I got them. I'm good. I got them out of a very bad situation. So I didn't care about it.
That's all my Satan wanted was money. Literally saying to me, if you don't pay me X amount of much, you won't see the kids. Mm-hmm. It was disgusting. It's
weaponizing the kids is what it is.
If I told you half the stuff, just even 10% of the stuff that she'd done, especially weaponizing the children, she would rather, well, she actually did. Instead of having me have the kids, right, for whatever reason, she'd palm them off to a babysitter. She'd literally hire a babysitter just so I wouldn't have the kids when I'm there readily available, because her focus was this. Her focus was that.
Oh,
she hid the fact that she had a new partner. She hid the fact that she was getting the rent paid by the new partner, and she was taking money off me because I thought she couldn't afford the rent. Do you know what I mean? So it was completely about money. And then when I turned around to her, I says, I'm going for 50-50. And she did not want that. She did not want that one bit. But I went, that's fine, we'll go to mediation. And then as soon as we went to mediation, she was very agreeable. So, because in terms of England, it's not as bad as in the UK. It's not as bad as what it is in America. Because I know in America, there's a lot of stuff that can be done to. It does not favour the men there at all. It doesn't favour men over here, to be honest with you. But I had so much evidence on that woman that she would not have wanted it to go to court, because I could have quite easily had 100% custody.
Wow.
For her actions. So I knew as soon as I took it to mediation, she would stop with the bullshit. And that was kind of my threat, to be like, start complying, start being amicable, and stop being so greedy, because otherwise you're going to end up in jail, quite frankly. Was the gist of it. But it was, it doesn't favour men whatsoever. I forgot my point. Sorry.
It's all good. No, it's all good.
Just ranting away now.
Rant away. So this is actually kind of segue to what I wanted to bring up next. And we already touched on it a little bit, is you recently did the video on unaliving. And we have to say unaliving because, I do a radio show, and my partner the other day used the actual R word and the actual S word. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you just got us banned on YouTube. Now, my partner is 75 years old. He cannot concept that you have to say R word, SA, All those things. It blew his mind. But
You
anyway,
can't, you can't see it on YouTube either.
they get really touchy about it.
So,
You know, they officially they don't say it, but I've seen where they won't take your video down, but they'll throttle it right down. Like I've put up shorts talking about men unaliving with statistics, and you know, an average short I'll get on YouTube several thousand, you know, 2-3 thousand on average. That one got like 50. And I never said the word, but I had, because it was on the screen, the bots look for it. So that's why you got to be careful with it. But anyway, I want to kind of talk about that video you did, because I have to tell you, that one touched me in a lot of ways. And can you kind of just talk, first of all, for those that haven't seen it, what the video was about, and then we'll kind of go from there.
yeah. Well, which one? The
unaliving one, the last one.
So yeah, a quick summary. There's quite a well-known TikToker, well known to me anyway. She's got a big following. She tried to display. So we know there's an unaliving rate of, you know, it's like 80 of the unalivings that happen, 80% are men, or thereabouts. Mm-hmm. And she commented on that and then started making a conversation that unaliving attempts are roughly attempted about the same sort of rate, men and women.
They're in that area, correct.
It's actually a little bit more. So I corrected on that. Women actually do try it more often.
Yeah.
You know, even when I commented that on the video, people were still saying that I was disagreeing with her on purpose, even though I disagreed with her in her favor.
You were trying to help her, actually, is what I saw it as.
It's really peculiar. But she displayed the video that was a case of women just try different methods, and they don't really tend to do it because, you know, they don't want to kind of give that burden of the family to be cleaning up after their bodies. It was a video that was very much portrayed that women care more, so they don't do this deed type of thing. It was very, what's the word? It's very diminishing towards men.
I was going to say condescending was the word I was going to use.
Condescending is a word. But it's very dismissive and very ignorant and very uneducated. But she started the video saying, this is the statistic and this is misleading because of, and then she made the whole video that was very misleading and inaccurate. So I made a response video based on reality, in terms of the real facts and figures, and to kind of confirm and explain what she thought was right but wasn't quite right, and stuff like that. And it was basically trying to kind of give a bit more of a real view on the topic of unaliving that she was talking about when it comes to the percentage wise. I don't know if I've explained that.
That was actually pretty much how I would have explained it too.
Cool.
And the reason I wanted to kind of go there first was because I wanted to talk about the reactions you were getting. So, powerful reactions in a lot of cases, I thought. What was your mindset reading through some of the responses on that? And I actually don't know. Did she respond to your video at any point?
No, she blocked me. She blocks anyone
with a flat
fact.
block. Yeah. What were your thoughts seeing the responses you were getting to that video? Because I will tell you, Matt, that one hit me. You got me on that one. And kudos to you for doing that, by the way.
Yeah, it was a sensitive one. So, I done it's something that's close to my heart as well, because being someone who was very close to being a statistic twice, it was all planned, and one of them, it was only by fluke that it didn't go through.
Wow.
So I was very fortunate on that one, because that should have been successful. So it was very close to my heart, and I don't want anyone else to go through it. And I don't want people making them feel like their struggles or their issues aren't serious. She made it out like it was a competition in a way that, do you know what I mean? Like it was.
That's a great way to put it. She was trying to make it a competition.
Yeah, and it just felt odd to me. But it is something that's close to me, so I can't make light of it. it's something that I'm passionate about, and it's one of the reasons why I talk about a lot of the stuff I do on social media as well, just to kind of make men feel a little bit normalized, that they don't actually have to feel like shit just because people on the internet tell them to. So it was quite tough, but the responses were, they ranged from people telling their own stories of friends and family.
Yep.
So many confirming basically what I said. A couple with a few slight differences to them. Some of them were like, it's nearly right, but this happened. I was like, no, absolutely, I understand, because it's not, I'm on about, statistically speaking, this is a large portion, but it sounds like it's close to what the statistics show. A few difficult conversations, a couple of stitches on there as well. There was one disabled dude, who told his story, and that
Heartbreaking.
that was a difficult watch. And he was telling me, he wasn't telling me, he made the stitch video, and he was saying that his attempt was nearly successful, and it was just a case of someone found him, and he phrased it, I was unfortunate it didn't succeed. But then later on in the video, he kind of said he was, thankful that it didn't, and that he was found. When he says, unfortunately, he didn't succeed, it kind of, that there's something not quite.
Yeah, there's still something going on there.
Yeah, something that's not quite healed. So I left a message there saying, look, I'm glad you're still with us, brother. Reach out if you ever need to and stuff.
Do you get that a lot? Because I do. I get a lot of DMs on all the social medias. And now I have some training in that matter. I was a peer counselor for domestic violence, dealt with some of that stuff. So I have a little bit of training. Now, I don't call myself an expert or, my goal with anyone like that is to get them the help they need.
Signposter is,
Yeah, it's just interesting to see that as we share our stories, like you mentioned, you were thinking about it a couple times. I've actually never thought about it. Unaliving to me, I can't even fathom it as far as myself. I understand though why others can, and when you get to that dark a place, my goal is to get people to the help, because I am not qualified by any means to do anything with that. But it's, the reason I wanted to bring that up is because it did trigger people to respond to that and bring out their stories. And then my follow-up question was going to be, were you seeing people reaching out to you? Obviously you did.
I've always had quite a lot of people reaching out to me. I can't help them in ways that, that I'd love to be able to do. Because again, I'm not trained either. I've got experience of speaking, I've done plenty of research. I've read the books that normal people who would be trained in this area would be reading, but I'd never pretend to be an expert to help fix someone. I get a lot of DMs. I can't see them all.
I'm the same way. I do the best I can, but there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, but signposting. When I speak to someone, I'm like, look, right, stick with us. Don't make any plans. Signpost them to exactly where they need to do to get them to a right professional. But I have spent a lot of hours. This is before I was on TikTok. I was on Twitter, and I'd spend hours on the phone with people some nights, just being there as a voice to of reason or an ear to listen to, because I know what it was like, and I know it sounds crazy when you're in that dark place, when you are thinking of doing the deed, when you're in that dark place, there's no other thought of anything else other than I can't anymore. I literally can't anymore. It's such a scary place to be in. And it's so scary, and you really do feel that there's absolutely no escape from it, and it is petrifying. Yeah, there's literally no words to explain it. It's once your mind is set,
then you're going down that road if you can.
Going down that road. Yeah. Usually, like when I reached out to a friend of mine, and this was after I I let the tires go bald on my car, and I was driving around on the motorways for a while, and tire popped, drive in, ended up onto the other side of the road. It was a dual carriageway, and there was a truck coming straight at me, and a little pain in the ass thing. There's a massive like hole in the road between the two lanes that just bounced me out the way of an oncoming truck. And then it kind of like spun me to the side, and I just sat there in the car, and then I phoned me mate, and I told her what happened, and then she just spent all of her time on the phone with me for the next couple of weeks, just pestering me, and then just because someone was there, always trying to kind of make time for me, it made all the difference. But even that was a struggle, because I was determined. I was absolutely, that was it. I was done. I didn't care about anything else. I had 2 kids that I absolutely love and adore, but they're not something that you take into account. You just can't take it anymore. You just can't do it. And
the sad part is that a lot of guys end up that way, coming out of broken relationships, divorces. There's a lot of reasons why it can happen. I don't want to minimize any particular reason, but it is sad, because one of the things that I'm quite passionate about with that is there aren't a lot of places for guys to go, because, again, I come more from the domestic violence realm, and unaliving coming out of that, because it's a lot more common than people actually would ever want to fathom.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But when you look at it, there's guys don't feel safe opening up. And the fix for a lot of people, fix is a wrong word, but the help is someone like you had that reaches out and becomes that person to lean on.
Yeah.
And, the problem that we have online is, one, we get bombarded. I know you do far more probably than me, but there's only so much we can do. My goal, like I said, is if someone comes to me with that, I will do what I can and then try and find them help. But it speaks to one of the things. The other things I'm doing a nice little segue again. See, I'm good at that. My partner on radio, he's like, "You're a genius, Adam." But anyway, is about safe spaces for men, because having that safe space and that place where you can go open up and have people who've been through the same experience be able to share that, much like you just did. That's how we can affect change, I feel. Because the problem with guys is we get very solitary. It's all our fault. We take all of the responsibility on, and then ultimately it eats us alive. And that's one of the things I think where your videos, the things that I do, can help, is guys see, because let's be honest, they look up to you. I look up to you, right? And seeing that you're sharing those struggles, it will help someone else, because they'll have a better understanding that, geez, if he went through it and I'm going through it, maybe I'm not so unnormal, so to speak.
Yeah. It's kind of the hope. It's I think when you've only got the certain amount of tools to try and help people the way that you're given, you can only do your best with it. Now, when I was having the struggles, you was on about like support and stuff like that, and I rang all the helplines. This was a while ago now. So we're talking about what, 6 years ago. And it's improved drastically since. So it's improved drastically in the last couple of years. I think COVID made a bit of a drastic change.
It woke that whole industry, for lack of a better term, up, I think.
Oh yeah, no, big time. But the support I got when I was going through it was poor. It was terrible. I will get someone to call you back. Never got a phone call back. I got leaflets through the door. I couldn't get appointments with the doctors. And I was telling them what was, I'm depressed. I'm thinking the worst. I could not get seen. I could not have those conversations. And this is why I push for it now, because when you've got no other way of trying to help people to kind of deal with what you've gone through, you use the tools that you've got. And there's a friend of mine called Steve on TikTok now who's doing a wonderful job. He reached out to me with his Tough to Talk charity, and I've been referring people to his TikTok, because what he does is he signposts, and his whole charity is about men with mental health and questions or struggles and stuff like that. And he's trying to build a charity to kind of help men in that kind of area. And he started off strong. He's doing really well, and he does live every single day after his job comes on, he does lives.
God bless him for that.
Even on the weekends. But and he's doing the same thing. He's not trying to fix people, as he's talking to them on the live and stuff like that. He's signposting them, telling them what to do. All the little basic bits of information that you need just to kind of, get sorted. That you're not alone. You've got a community here. But over the course of the last, it's like you said, we're quite isolated, and we used to have groups to kind of talk, and we feel better in those groups when we're talking. But we used to have workmen's clubs, didn't we? Things like that.
Yep.
They're all gone. They've all vanished. We don't have any anymore. But you used to have places where men could group together and talk crap for a good hour and then bugger off home. But you just don't see them anymore. And then the guys take on the burden, and then when it fails, who's he going to blame?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that's changing, and there's a lot of people starting to realise what effects are actually causing this sort of stuff to kind of happen. And I don't know. I think the change that we're seeing at the moment is amazing. I think.
I actually agree with you on that. I think, and I've talked about this with other guests that I've had on. I'm very hopeful for the future. I do think things are changing. I also, in some respects, think it's going to get worse before it gets better. You talked about places, gyms. I'm a gym owner, right? I've worked out in gyms or worked in gyms for 40 years. That's my place of solace. I could tell you that's probably why I never got to the point of thinking about unaliving myself, because I would just go pound iron. It's what worked for me. But now, and I've done a few videos on it, you've got all the girls trying to catch guys looking at them and posting on that. So they're trying to take away that. I mean, I only intended to do one video. I think I'm on 5 or 6 at this point, because guys are just flooding me with them,
They hook you in.
Oh, well, they send them to me. There's a day goes by I haven't gotten one. But it's interesting that, like you mentioned, places guys could go to, and there's all different ones. But the feminists, because I don't want to say women, because I don't agree with that. The feminists try and shut that down, right?
Yep.
They're having an effect in the gyms now. We're seeing that more and more guys are leaving the gyms. I posted yesterday, I reached out. There was one I did a video on. I reached out to the gym because I was able to find out who it was. And I, contacted the gym, and I said, you're out on TikTok. And they sent a great reply, exactly the reply I would have written as a gym owner. But it speaks to how even when we have those safe spaces, they try and take them away. Same thing within TikTok, right? Your channel is about helping guys, and they've shut you down or tried to. Same with me.
Yep.
What do you think their real objective is with that? Because I can't fathom why they'd want to go to that extreme.
Are we ready to go controversial?
Go for it. I love controversy.
The feminist narrative over the last 20, 30 years, especially how it's taken hold since say 2005 onwards. All the media that you see, all the charities that you see, always position women as the victims every single time. Men bad, women can do no wrong. It's like you said about the politicians earlier. They don't really listen to men's problems because it's all the feminist organizations that position it as if men don't have any problems. And then the feminists then say it's the patriarchy.
That's yes. Yeah.
See how that little circle works.
Yeah.
But look at all the media. It's all worded in the feminist narrative. there's not many, you can do it in simple articles. Like if a man, sleeps with an underage girl, it's the R word. If a woman sleeps with an underage boy, they just had sex.
What they say is you enjoyed it, because I'm a victim of that, and I have been told my entire life you enjoyed it. You know you did.
Oh yeah. In like comment sections of videos, like, oh yeah, you should be grateful and stuff. Come on now. But like even on my videos, even with that video that I made about just recently about the unalive one, there's women in there going, oh, it's the patriarchy. Oh, it's men that do this. It's men. I'm just like, you're clueless. You're insensitive. And then I've got them in there doing the old buzzwords to me as well. Oh, you're gaslighting. You're doing this. You're condescending. I'm like, look, all I've done is speak in a quite monotone voice about articles and studies and citations that I've read and people within the profession that I've spoken to before making a video, and you're still calling me names. It's I think there's a power thing there that they want to remain, the feminist narrative want women to remain priority fully, even at men's expense. And sadly, I see that on a lower level based on people's own personal content on TikTok and in the comments that they make. When it baffles me, we just can't treat someone as a victim when they're a victim. Do you know what I mean? It's a case of...
Oh, they try and outdo the victimhood,
Yeah.
Like I had it happen. I was with Fanny the other day. Actually, it was yesterday. And, this woman was interacting with Fanny originally. I jumped in on it because, I like to. But then I started realizing that I actually felt bad for her, the woman, because she's so far gone in buying into that narrative. And that's really what it was. She, like you said, all she has is the buzzwords.
Yeah.
And she's so looped into that narrative, she couldn't hear what anyone else was saying, And
it's a belief system.
It is.
That's how powerful it is. It's a belief system.
And it's sad because it ends the conversation, right? So my intention with it, I wanted to stir it up a little bit. I'm not going to tell you I didn't, but was also, though, when I saw where she started to go, I'm like, we can have a conversation here, but I couldn't, because I actually ended up having to block her, because then she started coming at me, like scarily coming at me. And I'm not afraid of much, but I was like, this is a type of woman that will accuse me of something, because she started to do that. But it kind of speaks to, they don't want the men to have that safe space. And they want to create that narrative. And the problem I see, and I know you see it on all of the social medias, but TikTok primarily, is for every video you get about women hating men, you get the other one going, where are all the good men at? And sometimes me being me, I'm like, you drove us away. That's, but I believe it's going to get better. Whether it'll be in my lifetime, I don't know. Maybe yours. What do you think?
So you just said you've seen, the content where it's man hating, and then for every one of those you see where are the good men at? It's when it's the same person. That's what makes me laugh. That's the ones that tickle the living daylights out of me. Men are crap. Men are shit. Men should be like this. Men should be like that. Where are all the good men at? Staying away from your ass, lovely. So, do you know what I mean? And then when you say that they're not bothering with you, it's because they can't handle an independent,
a strong woman, because they think strong. They define strong woman in terms of the way they define a strong man. That I don't think they realize that a lot of times. That's why they're always, well, I make a lot of money. I don't care. No guy does. I hate to break it to you.
Yeah. It's like Ronaldo dated, Ronaldo, one of the world's richest footballers, he was married to a waitress now, I believe.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really? Yeah. I mean, he's worth like $1 billion, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I did not know that.
It's either him or Messi. One of them, one of the big guys, they just married a waitress because they just connected. They don't care about how much money you got. It's just they want someone that, a man wants someone that's got that bond and connection. I've never met a man in my life that's gone, but she's got a few bob. I wouldn't mind dating her. Do you know what I mean?
I know
I'm
of
sure
one.
they exist.
I do know of one.
You do know of one?
Yeah, so there was a woman, she's now passed. Her name was Mary Lou Whitney. She lived in Saratoga, New York, and married into the Whitney family, which in the States is money.
Houston?
Yeah, loaded. And her husband, who was give or take 50 years younger than her, trust me, he wasn't marrying a 70 whatever year old woman for the fun time. Let's call it that. But that's my only one that I could ever think of. And now she's passed, and guess what? He's loaded.
Oh yeah. You're gonna have those exceptions.
There's always exceptions.
Always exceptions, but it's not the general rule, is it? It's not by a long shot. But I think for the future though, I think people are starting to wisen up a lot more. I think reality is the majority of women and the majority of men aren't idiots, right? So I think what we see on social media is, it's where the idiots congregate, isn't it?
Yeah.
What I worry about is that the next generation, the youth that's growing up, that's watching this social media, because this is what their perception of the world is going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm worried for the younger folk and the relationships that they're going to go into and all the troubles that they're going to experience. And, I just hope that they kind of pick up on the sensible people on the social media and follow them more than the bloody weirdos, because you're not going to change the weirdos' minds. Like I said, it's a belief system in their head. They will say stuff to you as if it's true, and there's nothing you can say to change their mind to it, because it is like cult behavior. It's a very much.
It's very much. That's exactly the term I use. It's a cult.
Yeah.
And by the way, my radio show's political. I use it on there too to describe another group of people. But what I find interesting, something you just mentioned, is the generational thing. So I'm a generation before you, basically. My generation, we grew up with, in my case, 4 TV channels. That was it, right? Cable didn't exist. Internet, hell no. Your generation came in, started with cable, right? MTV, the generation, I think is what they call it. And then internet came along when you were, probably 10, 15 years old. And
yeah, anyway, it was about 11, 12 years old. I remember, because Gillian Anderson's boobs on dial-up took about 5 hours. Took about 5 hours to load.
Yeah.
You had to find the next day and ask me about it. That was fun. He said the truth is out there, and I was like,
But it's interesting that even the difference between our generations were noticeable. But now, to your point, their whole life, their whole belief in existence is what they see online, and that's. I know that's why I do what I do. I'm confident that's why you do what you do, is to educate. I know you. We're never coming from a place of meanness, right? Yeah, we like to get a little shots in here and there. Let's be honest, right? But we're trying to help people see the other side of the story. But they desperately try and shut us down. You've been banned. I've been banned for stupid stuff sometimes. Half time, I don't even know why I was banned on some things. By the way, YouTube, I still want that account you took back for me saying the shot didn't work, and you could still get COVID. They banned me for that. I had a YouTube account in 2021 when Biden was saying that if you got the shot, you could not get COVID and you could not transmit it. And I said, that's not what the data is showing. I didn't say, don't go get the shot or go get it. I simply said, the data is not showing that. It's showing you can still get it and you can still transmit it. Banned, and they will not give me the account back.
Wow.
But that's, that speaks to a whole other thing, right? But but tying it back to what the feminists do, they try and silence us, because I think your point you made earlier is 100% valid, that they've had this narrative. My take on it is they know that narrative has been phony for the last 40 years. first 10 years of feminism, I wholeheartedly support. I will tell you right now, I'm a feminist, okay? From like 70, I use 1970 as my benchmark, to about 1985. Wholeheartedly agree with that. After that, oh, hell no, you know. But that whole narrative that men are bad, men are idiots, all the stuff we see online, they know it's a lie. I really believe they know it's a lie. And they're so afraid of getting found out that they have to shut us up. And that's why I think it's so important what you and I and so many, I don't want to make it look like it's just us. There are literally dozens of us speaking out. Some very, very good ones that I've already had on the podcast and will have on in the future.
All better than me as well.
Oh, stop. You're the king, my friend.
All better than me. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. I'm pittance.
Oh, I don't agree with you there. I told you, you're my hero on this. And I will never back down from that, Matt. I'm sorry. All right.
Stop. Idiot with a camera.
Go ahead if you're going to say something.
Yeah, no. Yeah, what was you just saying then? Because I was about to say something.
I was talking about, all the other people helping, speaking out, and how feminism's trying to silence us because their narrative is phony.
That's it. Yeah. I think that's a big part of it because, and they also say it's the patriarchy that silences men. It's men that silences men. And then when men speak out, it's the feminists that shuts down men. And then when we show evidence of this, it's not them. They just don't believe it. It's, see, I'm more feminist than the people that I argue with that claim that they're feminist. By definition of what a feminist, or what my perception of what a feminist is, someone that wants equality for everyone. Mm-hmm. That was what my perception of feminism was when I was growing up. That's how I perceived myself. I was a very feminist man 18 months ago, until I met people who claimed that they were feminists that weren't feminist, for me to learn to realize there's a lot bloody more of these kind of people out there. They are absolutely radicalized and they are pushing this new narrative, and so many people are buying into it. And that's why I do what I want to do. I'm not against feminism. I'm against stupid narratives, stupid attacks, diminishing another gender for the benefit of another. I don't like it on either side. So that's when I was like, a friend of mine pointed out that you're egalitarian. I went, what's that mean? I Googled it. I went, that's better. I agree with that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But then the women that get angry with me for speaking up about them, they're like, you're just a misogynist that hates women. And I'm like, actually, what you'll find is that I'm just a dude that's fed up with bullshit, and I won't put up with bullshit. And I talk about it.
Yep.
I don't hate women. I just don't accept bullshit coming my way anymore. And that's literally it. You don't have to accept people talking to you like shit if you don't want to. In fact, you can challenge it. And then that's when they kind of go and try and silence you. So it kind of goes this big circle. And that's why I don't want to go like, the other side. What do they call it? Red pill or something?
Oh, that whole, yeah.
When they go far the other side. I don't want to end up doing that stuff. I want to sit straight in the middle.
Yep.
I will kind of wind up, and I do push buttons sometimes just to see how people will react. I like watching people's reactions. But
pushing
when you're
buttons also, though, Matt, is how you affect change. You have to push buttons a little bit.
Oh yeah,
you have to, but not to the extremes, like you said. I'm just like you. I want to get attention, so to speak. Push the buttons a little bit, and I feel confident saying this. All of us, you, me, all the ones we've talked about before, we're all of that mindset. We don't hate women.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, I would say I don't like the hypocrisy of it. You're saying essentially the same thing. That's what we're fighting against, is stop demeaning men to make your point valid as a feminist.
Yes.
There's so many things that we could, if we came together, that what we could accomplish would be amazing. Whether it's mental health crisis, whether it's, you don't have it so much there, but pews in the schools, right? I talked with Fanny about this a little bit a couple weeks ago on the podcast. One of my things I postulate on that is The reason it happens is because the boys in the schools here in the States are basically told from the time they enter school that it's their fault for everything. They're forced to sit at a desk, which boys do not respond well to, and they create that othering. So these boys become othered and think, I'm nothing, I'm nobody, I got to get attention, and then they do these horrific things. And I'm not justifying it anyway, by the way, but you always got to say that stuff. But it's just interesting how that all shakes out, and I think you're raising awareness. I'm trying to. I really want to kind of just wrap this up in a bow with, we kind of talked about the future and what we see. Where do you think we should focus more right now? Where is our best effort? Where should it be placed? Ooh, tough question. I got him.
I think men's mental health is massively key. It's that number's scary, isn't it? That number's scary. And then when you delve into the, kind of background reasoning and kind of why it's happening and how it's happening, it's worrying how little support men get or care that men get. And the fact that, men are already feeling like shit, and then now the feminist narrative is making them feel even worse. Which is what, and this is something I've said to someone before, and I'm like, don't you realize you're creating the people with this type of narrative? You're creating the very type of people you want to stop existing. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, I know exactly what you mean because I agree with you.
It's nuts, but the fact, I think there's a lot of feminists that there's a lot of feminists that follow me, people who perceive what feminism should be like the way I did. Do you know what I mean? Because not all feminists are bad. It's just those radicalized, and they're just the loud majority. But you already said it. It's when men and women come together and just deal with it. Because if it wasn't for the amount of content against men on social media, I'd be doing more videos about the idiot men as well. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because there's plenty, and I've done.
Oh, I've got one that's going to be coming out soon about simping.
Yeah, well, I've outed a number of dudes with some really bad takes that they've done. It's like, Turtleneck Emo's not around anymore, is he? I found some girl on Twitter who started saying some stuff, and I was cautious about false allegations. I said, look, this is the situation. And then loads of other girls come out and with evidence, and then it snowballed that. So I'll always find the wrong uns, and if I find the wrong one, I'll out them out. But there's loads of women, drilling after men left, right, and centre on social media. So I don't need to take part in that. If I find one that needs taken down a peg or two, I will do. But it's mainly this message towards men of trying to make men feel like they're worth nothing. And I think, I think to make men feel that they're actually worth something is massively important. But you've asked a question, and I've ranted on again about absolutely nothing. But I think where we should start is men and women working together, and start listening to each other. It's like the most simplest task. It's most simplest thing,
and yet it's the hardest.
And the most impossible
and
thing.
the most impossible, yes.
Yeah.
Because we have to be willing to hear each other, and listen. And guys need to do that too.
Oh, yeah.
I feel women more because they got their own little bubble at this point. But until I'm trying to be kind. Until we do, nothing is going to change. I do start seeing signs of it. I think that the work that you're doing helps with that. And my mindset is very similar to yours. My answer to that question would be: we need to stop attacking men all the time and find a way that we can peacefully coexist, to use a term over here in the States for political things, which, my viewpoint is the United States is going to be 3 countries probably in about 10 years. But that's not this conversation. But again, it's they kind of dovetail together in that mindset, right? It's we have to start talking to each other. We have to be I listen to some of the radicals on there. I don't agree with a lot of what they say, but I at least listen to them. And sometimes I sit and go, you know what? She got a point.
Yeah, I do it quite often. I've put comments in people's. I do get some of them like kind of slagging me off for doing it because they think I'm just being.
They think you're being sarcastic, right?
Yeah. But like, you know, I might not like someone, and I can hate someone with a passion. I've never, you know, the only person I hate is one person, but I can have the most upright dislike for someone for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. If they say something that's right, I'm going to agree with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
I've done that plenty, and I've had people like, you know, even people who follow me. Do you like her content? I'm like, no, but she's right in this video. Do you know what I mean? So I've done that, and then I've had people going, "Oh, shut up, you're just a white man." Like, okay,
yeah,
that one. You wait until I get a tan. I don't look pale. But yeah, it doesn't matter if someone says something that's right, then yeah, agree with them. It's just the way it should be.
It is the way it should be. You're exactly right.
So some people will just go out of their way to disagree, you know, and
there's always going to be those. All right, Matt, I do want to wrap this up. We've been bantering on for quite a while now, and I truly appreciate it. How can people follow you? You've got multiple accounts. I'm going to let you kind of just rattle off whatever you want. Go ahead.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's Matchooly on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitter. There's Matchooly4 also on TikTok, and also Matchooly_IG on Instagram. That's all of my stuff. But yeah, I don't use them much at the moment, but well, the other stuff, but I will do. Twitter's quite fun. I don't use that much, but that's where my mortal enemies live. The reason why I'm on TikTok is because of the people on Twitter.
I had to get off Twitter. I gave up on Twitter in 2016. I have not been on. Now that Elon's got it, I might go back on, but it became a cesspool. And it was sucking me down, and I just at some point said, nope, no more.
Yeah, well, if it wasn't for Twitter, I wouldn't be on TikTok. That's where I met the nasty radical feminists. So if you want to see people slagging me off all the time, Twitter is the place to go.
I might have to go check that out. So, because why not? And I will encourage everyone, go follow Matt on all his accounts. If you're on TikTok, follow the ones he's got on there, because you do different things on different accounts. And you trust me. Even if you're not interested in the subject, you're going to get entertained, because he is brilliant. He is the king. I know, I keep saying it, but you are. I mean, you have to understand something. You are one of my heroes. I'm dead serious about that.
It just doesn't sound right. It sounds daft.
I know it does, but that's your humility speaks to who you are, Matt. It really does, because everything you do comes from the heart. I know that. I see that. I know many others do. Your ears probably have rung, because some of us have talked about you behind your back and said, boy, I wish I could be like him. Nothing but good things to be said. So I encourage anyone watching this, go follow Matty. You will learn, you will be entertained, and you'll have a little fun while you're at it. So anything else you want to add, Matt, before we close it down?
No, I'm good. I've kept you on for a long time. I've probably bored the pants off everyone already. So
no, I don't think you have. No. We'll see.
I'm good, but I appreciate you having me on your podcast. It's been good fun, and the pre-chat before the podcast was also
that was fun too. And I'm
no one's going to hear it.
I'm sure we'll have one after I turn the recording off too. On that note, let me go ahead and close the show down. So hey, everybody, thanks for watching, and if you've watched this long, you must have liked what you were watching. I say this every week, so give me that thumbs up, hit that like button, right? If you're a guy and some of the topics that hit home that we talked about today hit home with you, make sure you subscribe because I have some other things coming up. Hopefully next week I'm finalizing. I'm going to have someone on from one of the only 2 male domestic violence shelters in the U.S. Someone will be joining me on that. I have a psychologist coming on to talk about various things. I got a bunch of stuff. So subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on that. And share this stuff, guys. Matt is trying to spread the word. I'm trying to spread the word. We're trying to help you guys. So the more you do, the further it goes. You know how the whole algorithms work. So again, my thanks to Matt for joining me, and we'll see y'all next time on Men Need to Be Heard.